Every single one of us is constantly broadcasting a signal through our voice, our posture, our attention, and our choices. And the world, whether consciously or not, is always listening. Social attraction isn't about being liked by everyone. It's about creating resonance. It's about tuning your inner frequency so precisely that the right people, those meant for your path, are drawn to you effortlessly. But here's the truth most people never confront. You cannot control how others respond to you until you learn to regulate what you are radiating from within. When your nervous system is dysregulated, when your thoughts are hijacked by fear, comparison, or approval seeking, your presence feels scattered. Even if your words sound polished, you might impress minds, but you'll never move hearts. To become socially magnetic, you must master your internal state. That means regulating breath before speech. That means finding stillness before expression. Your calmness is your power. It's not weak to pause. It's wisdom. The most socially attractive people are not the most animated. They are the most anchored. Next, consider this. Your eyes speak before your mouth does. Your gaze, when steady and attuned, signals safety. It tells others that they are seen, not judged, but witnessed. Make your eye contact real, not mechanical. Let it convey presence. And your face, keep it alive. A genuine smile, a subtle nod, a reflective expression. These micro signals are the grammar of human connection. When you speak from somewhere deeper than your throat. Speak from a place that is aligned with your values, your beliefs, your purpose. Let your words be saturated with intention. Let them be slow when they need to be slow, sharp when they need to be sharp. Rhythm is not just a musical quality. It is a social one. People trust those whose speech reflects inner stability. If you want to be socially attractive, make curiosity your currency. Ask real questions. Listen not just to answer, but to understand. Be so present with others that their nervous systems relax in your company. That kind of presence is not built in a moment. It is practiced in silence, in solitude, in the moments when no one is watching. And remember this, consistency is credibility. One charismatic conversation is not enough. Attraction is not enough. Attraction is not a spark, it's a pattern. Your habits are the soil in which trust and connection grow. Be the kind of person whose behavior over time reveals depth, not just dazzle. Being socially attractive is not about performing. It's about embodying clarity, embodying integrity, embodying compassion and stillness and strength, often all at once. That's not easy, but you weren't made for easy. You were made for impact. Your ability to influence and attract others begins with one critical capacity, the control of your internal state. This is not just a metaphor or a poetic ideal. It is a biological reality. The nervous system governs how you feel, how you express yourself, and how you are perceived by others. When your internal state is chaotic, anxious, or erratic, that information is unconsciously transmitted to those around you. No matter how carefully you craft your words, if your internal environment is dysregulated, people will sense it and trust will diminish. That's because human beings are neurobiologically attuned to safety. We are constantly and often unconsciously scanning for cues. Is this person safe? Are they present? Can I relax in their presence? Or do I need to guard myself? When you are in control of your internal state through regulated breathing, postural awareness, and present moment attention, you begin to emit signals of coherence. That coherence is incredibly attractive. It makes people feel anchored in your presence. So it makes them want to be around you, not because of what you say, but because of how they feel around you. State control, in that sense, is the foundation of charisma. It is the unseen force that makes your eye contact land, your voice resonate, and your body language align with your words. Without it, everything else is performance without substance. Controlling your internal state does not mean suppressing emotion. It means being in relationship with your emotion in a way that allows you to respond rather than react. This is a core principle in neuroscience, the ability to engage the prefrontal cortex, the seat of deliberate decision-making over the limbic system, which governs impulsive emotional responses. When someone triggers you and you feel the impulse to lash out or withdraw, state control allows you to notice the rising wave of emotion and ride it without being overtaken by it. You create space between stimulus and response. That space is where social mastery lives. Breath is your primary tool. Slow, deliberate nasal breathing, especially emphasizing the exhale, activates the parasympathetic nervous system down regulating stress, and creating physiological calm. That calm isn't just for you, it's contagious. When your breath slows, your voice deepens. Your pacing evens out. People instinctively interpret that as confidence and competence, not because of what you're saying, but because of how you're saying it. That calmness becomes a felt experience, and people want to be near those who make them feel safe and steady. Posture matters too. When your spine is tall, your chest is open, and your shoulders are relaxed, you're communicating a regulated nervous system. In contrast, slouching, tension in the jaw, or fidgeting signal dysregulation. You may not even be aware you're doing these things, but others pick up on them. We are sensory-driven creatures, constantly reading one another for signs of coherence or chaos. The more regulated your posture, breath, and voice, the more socially attractive you become because you represent an environment of safety in human form. Even in conversation, state control plays a pivotal role. When you listen from a grounded state, you hear more. You're not just waiting for your turn to speak, you're genuinely absorbing the other person's message. That attentiveness is rare and it's powerful. People feel it. They open up around it. And that openness becomes the basis for trust, respect, and deep connection. State control is not something you master once. It's a daily practice. Every moment is an opportunity to return to breath, to realign your posture, to bring attention back to the now. And in doing so, you rewire the very systems that shape your relationships and your influence. This is foundational, not optional. It is the invisible structure that makes every other social habit not only possible, but sustainable. Eye contact and facial expression are two of the most ancient, powerful, and nonverbal tools in human communication. Long before we had language, we had the eyes and the face. They are neurologically hardwired into our social perception systems as primal indicators of safety, status, and trust. When someone looks at us directly with calm, focused eyes, and an expression that is congruent with what they're saying, our brains register alignment. This sense of coherence builds connection almost instantly. On the other hand, when there's a mismatch, when the eyes dart, when the face is flat or overly rehearsed, we pick up on the dissonance and instinctively pull away. This is not conscious most of the time, but it is incredibly precise. Our nervous systems are designed to detect even the smallest signs of inconsistency or threat in the social field. The power of eye contact lies in its ability to signal presence. In a world full of distraction, someone who can maintain intentional, steady eye contact without overdoing it, without trying to dominate or manipulate, stands out. Eye contact, when used well, says, "I see you." I'm not just hearing your words. I'm attuned to your emotional state. That level of attention is extremely rare, and people feel it on a deep level. But it must be balanced. Too much eye contact can come across as aggressive or performative. Too little may read as evasive or insecure. The ideal is dynamic, engaged but relaxed, connected but soft. The key is to be genuinely curious about the person in front of you. That natural curiosity will guide your eyes more skillfully than any rehearsed technique. The muscles of the face are directly connected to the vagus nerve, a key component of the parasympathetic nervous system, which governs feelings of safety and social engagement. A relaxed jaw, a gentle smile, raised eyebrows in moments of interest. These are not small details. They are powerful cues that tell others you are emotionally regulated, socially open, and attentive. When your facial expressions are congruent with your words and with the context of the conversation, people trust you more. They feel that you are real, not acting, not manipulating. Authenticity in this way becomes visible on the face. Smiling is often misunderstood. A forced or constant smile can be unsettling. It reads as inauthentic, but a well-timed, genuine smile has the power to transform a conversation. It releases dopamine and serotonin in both you and the other person, creating a shared neurochemical state of ease and connection. The same goes for microexpressions, those tiny split-second movements of the face that reveal true emotion. Even when we try to hide how we feel, the face often gives it away. People may not know exactly what they're picking up on, but they'll feel when something's off. That's why inner state and facial expression must be aligned. Moreover, facial expressions and eye contact create feedback loops. When someone smiles at you, you're more likely to smile back. When someone looks at you with warmth and interest, you feel safer, more seen, more open. This is where social momentum builds. By being aware of how you use your eyes and face, you influence not just how people perceive you, but how they behave around you. You create emotional resonance, which leads to deeper conversations, stronger bonds, and a greater sense of mutual respect. Practicing intentional eye contact and facial expression isn't about becoming robotic or overly analytical. It's about becoming more present, more aware, and more attuned. You don't need to perfect every expression. What matters is congruence. When your face reflects your internal calm and your eyes mirror your attention, you become someone others feel naturally drawn to. It's not a trick, it's truth made visible. Purpose-driven communication is not simply about having something to say. It's about speaking from a place of alignment, clarity, and intention. It's the difference between noise and signal, between words that fill space and words that move people. When you speak with purpose, others can feel it immediately. Your tone changes, your posture shifts, your energy becomes focused. You're no longer trying to impress or dominate a conversation. You're transmitting something rooted in meaning, and that is magnetic. Human beings are drawn to clarity. We are wired to follow those who seem to know where they're going, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and ethically. Purpose-driven communication offers that clarity. It reveals that you are not speaking to get attention or to win approval, but to express a deeper conviction. That conviction doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to overwhelm a room. In fact, some of the most powerful communicators speak in quiet, measured tones, but every word carries weight because it is anchored in something real. When someone communicates from a place of purpose, their language becomes more refined. They cut through the noise of vague statements and surface-level observations. Instead, they say what needs to be said, nothing more, nothing less. This kind of speech creates trust. It tells others that you're not wasting their time, that you've thought through your ideas, and that what you're offering is worthy of their attention. In a world of constant stimulation and superficial talk, this kind of directness feels like a breath of fresh air. Purpose also shapes the way you listen. It's not just about what you say, but about how you hold space for others to speak. When you're purpose-driven, you don't listen to react. You listen to understand. You ask questions not just to keep the conversation going, but to uncover something deeper, something meaningful. This kind of presence builds rapport without trying. It shows people that you are not just waiting for your turn to speak. You are genuinely engaged, rooted in curiosity and respect. Another critical element of purpose-driven communication is congruence. Your words, your tone, your body language, all of it must align. If you speak about discipline, but your posture is slouched and your voice trails off, there's a disconnect. People may not know why they don't believe you, but they'll feel it. But if you speak about something that matters to you and your physiology supports your message, calm breath, upright posture, grounded tone, then your communication becomes undeniable. It resonates beyond language. Purpose sharpens focus. It helps you avoid over-explaining or overcompensating. You don't need to convince anyone when you're aligned with your message. You just need to express it clearly and calmly. There's a kind of quiet authority that comes with this. It doesn't seek permission or applause. It doesn't chase validation. It simply lands. People may not always agree with you, but they will respect the integrity behind your words. What makes someone socially attractive is not just that they can talk, but that they know. They bring value, perspective, and depth to conversations, not by trying to be right, but by aiming to be real. They're not afraid of silence because they know not every moment needs to be filled. They understand that sometimes the most powerful part of communication is the pause, the space that allows others to reflect, to connect, and to respond. Purpose-driven communication takes discipline. It requires you to examine your motivations, to speak with honesty, and to listen without ego. It is not easy, but it is worth it. Because when you communicate from purpose, you activate something primal in others. You remind them of what matters. You create alignment between your inner world and your outer expression. And that, more than anything, is what draws people to you. Social attractiveness is often mistaken for high energy, constant enthusiasm, or a loud presence. But the people who truly captivate others, who hold attention without demanding it, are not necessarily the most energetic, but the most regulated. They don't overpower a room, they stabilize it. That stability comes not from how much energy they put out, but from how well they manage it. Energy management is the quiet power behind magnetic presence. It is the ability to stay grounded, composed, and deliberate, especially in dynamic social environments. And when someone has mastered energy management, there's a sense of calm around them. They can speak slowly without seeming uncertain. They can pause without losing attention. They can listen with their full presence without needing to constantly insert themselves. This isn't passivity, it's controlled intensity. Their nervous system isn't leaking energy through fidgeting, over-talking, or trying to win approval. Instead, they are storing, channeling, and directing their energy with intention. That kind of centeredness makes people feel safe, respected, and heard. People often assume that social power comes from volume or visibility, but it more often comes from stillness. When you're not desperate to be seen, people are more likely to notice you. When you're not performing for validation, people feel drawn to your authenticity. This restraint is not about holding back your personality. It's about understanding how to align your energy with the moment. There are times when enthusiasm is appropriate and moments where stillness has more impact. The skill is in knowing the difference. Managing your energy gives you that discernment. The foundation of good energy management is physiological awareness. When you enter a room, your internal state speaks before you do. If you're dysregulated, anxious, tired, scattered, that energy radiates. It shapes your tone of voice, your eye movements, your posture. But when you've trained yourself to slow your breath, ground your body, and bring your attention into the present moment, you start emitting a more coherent signal. People don't just hear your words, they feel your presence. And that presence isn't manufactured. It's the natural outcome of a regulated system. Managing energy also means knowing when to engage and when to withdraw. Not every moment requires output. In fact, giving yourself time to recharge, observe, and recover makes your engagement more effective when it's needed. This is especially important in prolonged social situations. Those who burn hot and fast in the beginning often lose presence as time goes on. But those who pace themselves, who conserve energy and stay attuned, remain grounded and effective throughout. They're consistent, and consistency is one of the most attractive traits you can embody. The most powerful leaders, speakers, and social connectors are often those who say less, but say it with absolute clarity. They don't flood the space with words. They don't need to. Their restraint signals confidence. Their timing commands attention. They understand that every output, every sentence, every gesture comes at a cost, and they spend their energy with precision. They are efficient, not in a cold, robotic way, but in a deeply human, attuned way. Energy leaks often come from insecurity. When you feel the need to be liked or to fill silence or to prove yourself, you start pushing energy outward in unproductive ways. But when you trust yourself, when you know who you are and what you stand for, you become more selective. You no longer seek to be everywhere at once. You aim to be fully where you are. That simple shift changes how people experience you. Ultimately, managing your energy is about respecting your inner state. It's knowing that how you show up is more important than how much you show up. It's learning to be powerful without being forceful, visible without being loud. Because in the end, people don't remember how much energy you gave. They remember how they felt in your presence. And that feeling is shaped by how well you've managed your own. The way you speak, its cadence and rhythm can shape how others perceive your presence long before they process the meaning of your words. Rhythmic and intentional speech patterns signal control, clarity, and emotional intelligence. They create a sense of steadiness that allows people to trust what you're saying and, more importantly, trust you as the one saying it. When your speech flows in a deliberate, grounded rhythm, it communicates far more than just information. It communicates that you are in tune with yourself, that you are not rushed, and that your mind and body are operating in sync. There is a deep biological reason why rhythm matters. Human brains are wired to respond to patterns. Rhythm in speech mirrors the rhythms found in nature: heartbeat, breath, waves. And when someone speaks in a calm, intentional pattern, it resonates with the nervous system of the listener. It creates a feeling of safety and familiarity. Conversely, when speech is erratic, overly fast, or filled with disjointed pauses, it activates uncertainty. It tells the listener, consciously or not, that something is misaligned. Even if the content is brilliant, The delivery creates friction that disrupts connection. Intentional speech doesn't mean rehearsed or robotic. It means you are speaking with awareness. You're present with each word. You're not rushing to fill silence or prove a point. You're allowing your message to land. This kind of speech creates space, not just between words, but in the minds of those listening. Space to absorb, to feel, to reflect. And that space is where influence lives. People don't remember the sheer volume of what you said. They remember how it made them feel, and that feeling is shaped largely by how you said it. One of the most powerful tools for regulating your speech pattern is your breath. If your breathing is shallow and fast, your speech will reflect that. In it will feel scattered or pressured. But when you breathe deeply and speak on the exhale, your rhythm becomes grounded. You naturally slow down, your voice deepens, and your words become more deliberate. That shift can transform how you're perceived. Instead of coming across as nervous or overeager, you convey calm authority. Pausing is a key part of rhythmic speech. A well-placed pause allows emphasis. It gives weight to your words. It shows that you're not afraid of silence and that you're comfortable letting your message breathe. Silence, when used intentionally, creates anticipation. It draws people in. It gives listeners a moment to process what's just been said. Too often, people fear pauses because they interpret them as awkward. But in reality, silence is one of the most powerful elements of communication if you're grounded enough to use it. The rhythm of your speech also influences group dynamics. In conversations, if your pace is steady and your tone composed, others begin to match you. This is a neurological process known as entrainment, where people subconsciously sync their speech and behavior to those around them. When your rhythm is grounded, others naturally calm down. Your presence regulates the room. That kind of influence can't be faked. It has to come from a place of true internal coherence. Intentional speech is not about being perfect. It's about being aligned. It's about choosing your words with care, but more importantly, letting your body support your message. Your pacing, your tone, your inflection, these are instruments. And when you play them with awareness, you create harmony, not just noise. You make people feel like they're part of something more meaningful than small talk. You draw attention not with volume, but with resonance. Ultimately, rhythmic and intentional speech reveals something essential, that you are fully present in the moment. You're not lost in your head. You're not trying to impress. You're simply here, clear, centered, and attuned. And that kind of presence speaks louder than anything you could say. Authentic curiosity is one of the most powerful yet underestimated forces in social connection. It draws people in without effort because it speaks directly to a core human need, the desire to be seen and understood. When someone is genuinely curious about you, not to get something, not to manipulate, but simply because they find you interesting, it feels like oxygen, softens your defenses. It opens you up. And it creates a kind of connection that isn't just memorable. What makes authentic curiosity so compelling is that it doesn't come from a place of strategy. It comes from presence. It says, I'm not here to project an image of myself. I'm here to learn who you are. And people sense that. They can feel the difference between someone who's asking questions out of politeness or social obligation and someone who actually wants to understand what you think, how you feel, and what makes you come alive. That level of attention is rare. In a world where so many conversations are transactional or performative, to be with someone who is actually listening, who is genuinely intrigued by your story, is disarming. Curiosity is attractive because it reflects humility. It shows that you aren't assuming, you aren't trying to dominate the space with your own knowledge or experience. You're inviting the other person into a shared experience of discovery. That's powerful. It signals emotional intelligence because curiosity requires you to suspend judgment and enter into another person's frame of reference. It requires you to listen with your whole attention, not just your ears. And when people feel truly listened to, they start revealing parts of themselves that they usually keep hidden. That kind of trust creates depth very quickly. But the key word here is authentic. Curiosity that's rooted in an agenda. Even a subtle one feels hollow. It might work for a moment, but people eventually sense that the attention isn't real. Authentic curiosity, on the other hand, is selfless in its energy. It's not trying to extract something. It's not rushing to get to a point. It simply exists for its own sake. That's why it doesn't require clever questions or a deep knowledge of the other person's life. All it really requires is presence, attention, a willingness to ask, tell me more about that and mean it. When you're genuinely curious, your body language shifts. You lean in slightly. Your eyes stay soft but focused. Your head might tilt. You nod when something resonates. All these microsignals are read unconsciously by the other person, and they communicate one thing: I'm with you, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And that's when people begin to open up. They start to match your level of curiosity. They begin to ask about you, not out of politeness, but because you've created the kind of space where reciprocity feels natural. Curiosity also creates momentum in conversations. When you're truly interested, you don't have to think about what to say next. One idea leads to another. Threads of thought unravel naturally. There's a kind of dance that happens: questions, reflections, small pauses, shared laughter. And underneath it all is that sense of exploration. You're not just talking, you're discovering. And that discovery becomes the connection itself. From a neurological perspective, curiosity activates reward pathways in the brain. It releases dopamine, the same chemical associated with motivation and learning. So when someone feels that you're curious about them, their brain literally lights up. They feel more engaged, more energized, and more drawn to the interaction. This is not manipulation, it's biology meeting presence. Authentic curiosity doesn't just build relationships, it deepens them. It turns ordinary interactions into meaningful ones. It breaks through social masks and invites honesty. And it teaches you over and over again that the people around you are not problems to solve or opportunities to impress. They are mysteries to explore. When you treat them that way, you become unforgettable. Not because you said something brilliant, but because you made someone feel profoundly seen. Reputation is often misunderstood as something shaped primarily by what we intend or believe about ourselves. However, the truth is far more concrete and less forgiving. Reputation is built exclusively on observable behavior, not on internal intentions or unspoken values. No matter how noble your intentions might be, it is your actions, the things you do consistently in the presence of others, that form the foundation of how you are perceived and remembered. This principle is fundamental to social attractiveness because it underscores the gap between who you think you are and who others experience you to be. Intentions live inside the mind, hidden from view, accessible only to you. They carry weight only insofar as they translate into action. So if people don't have access to your private motives or your internal dialogue, what they perceive, judge, and respond to are your behaviors, what you say, how you say it, what you do. But when there is a mismatch, confusion and mistrust arise. This disconnect is the root of so many social fractures and missed opportunities for connection. Understanding that reputation follows behavior means accepting full responsibility for your social presence. It means recognizing that no amount of good intention can compensate for inconsistent or negative behavior. For example, if you intend to be a reliable friend but repeatedly cancel plans at the last minute, your reputation will be shaped by the cancellations, not your good intentions. If you believe you are kind-hearted, but your tone comes across as condescending, others will perceive the tone, not your internal kindness. This isn't about judgment, it's about clarity. Social reality is built on what is seen and felt, not on what is assumed or hoped. This principle also highlights the importance of consistency. A single action can be forgiven or misunderstood, but repeated behaviors create a pattern that defines reputation. People unconsciously catalog these patterns and use them as heuristics to predict future behavior. If your consistent behavior is dependable, trustworthy, and warm, people will approach you with openness and positive expectation. If your consistent behavior is erratic, dismissive, or disingenuous, people will hesitate to engage or may keep interactions superficial. Your reputation acts as a social currency earned through repeated behavioral deposits or withdrawals. It's also critical to note that reputation is often formed before you have a chance to explain your intentions. In many social interactions, there is little time or space to justify your internal motives. People respond quickly, and their impressions tend to solidify rapidly based on behavior alone. This means that if your actions send mixed signals, your reputation will reflect the most salient or frequent behavior, not your best intentions. If you want your reputation to align with who you truly are, you must be intentional about how you show up in every moment. Reputation following behavior means that you cannot rely on explanations, excuses, or promises to shape how others see you. Words without corresponding actions are empty. Promises mean little if they're not backed by behavior. Apologies may mend a moment, but sustained change is what transforms reputation. The way you act repeatedly over time is the story that others tell about you, whether you like it or not. This story influences your social capital, your opportunities, and the depth of relationships you build. Because reputation is tied to behavior, social attractiveness is not about perfection. It's about integrity. Integrity means alignment between your values, intentions, and actions. When integrity is visible, trust grows. When it's not, suspicion takes root. People instinctively scan for signs of integrity in every interaction. They watch your tone, your eye contact, your follow-through, and your consistency. These subtle cues accumulate into a reliable map of who you are. Finally, this principle is liberating in a way. It means you have control over how you're perceived through your behavior. While you cannot control others' judgments or the complete narrative they create, you can control your actions in the present moment. By choosing behaviors that reflect your highest values consistently, you sculpt your reputation over time. This conscious shaping of behavior is a powerful tool for anyone seeking genuine social attractiveness because it centers the responsibility and power within you. In essence, reputation is the shadow cast by your actions. It does not follow your intentions, your desires, or your self-image. It follows what others see and experience. By mastering this truth, you not only protect your social standing, but deepen your authenticity, credibility, and connection. Your behavior is your legacy, and through it, your reputation is forged. Your reputation is not a reflection of what you hope or intend to be. It is the undeniable mirror of what you consistently do. True social attractiveness arises when your actions embody your values with integrity, bridging the gap between who you are inside and how the world experiences you. Embrace the power you hold in every moment to shape your legacy through deliberate, authentic behavior. Because in the end, it is not your intentions, but your actions that write the story others tell about you. And that story is the foundation of trust, respect, and lasting connection.